Welcome to the Super Facts Show on the Super Facts Network. Featuring St. Laz, who also hosts the popular web series Gem Pop and music journalist Mark Walter Ward. They have discussions about hip hop, culture, society, philosophy, and everything else. Now available on YouTube and wherever else you get your podcasts. What up, world? It's your boy Mark Walter Ward, Super Facts Show, Super Facts Network. Today we got with us Harlem's own Lee M.C. Recently off the Preschool Cypher introduction fame. How you doing?
Peace. Staying positive. How you doing?
I'm gonna go with what you say. That's about to be my new answer. I'm gonna be staying positive. That's a good way to look at it.
That's my new answer.
I heard that. So how'd you get involved with the Preschool Cypher? Which, by the way, my 8-year-old daughter loves.
Oh my God, yes. Yeah, I just started cheesing immediately when you said that, because that's been like the dopest thing ever to be a part of. And me and the creator, director, writer, chef, cook, bottle washer, Jamila, were in the same Women in Hip Hop Cipher. We were part of the Hip Hop Education Center, which is partnered with the Universal Hip Hop Museum, has an initiative called Fresh, Bold, and So Deaf. It's all about women in hip hop, all the different contributors in all the different fields, not just the regular 4 or 5 pillars, but like everything: journalism, knowledge, education, and then, you know, dance and visual art, graffiti, all of that, DJing. But we were in the planning committee that was going to do this program for Women's History Month and do panels and trivia and social media and all these things. So we were just huddled up every Saturday for a good minute, and she came on. I was there from like December through, and she joined in like a month and change later, and then we just hit it off. And I hit her up one day, or she hit me. I don't know. It was one of those alignment things, because we just connected outside of that circle and just had nothing but positive things to share. And she told me she was doing this project and she thought that it needed a little bit of like a grounding flavor that she thought I had. And I was like, okay. And then she was like, it's a preschool thing. And I was like, what, with hip hop? Say no less. So I'm all about the build, especially like with young people. I have a history of that myself. So yeah, just dived in. And at first I was just doing the theme song. And then it turned into like editing and, you know, helping with the post-production, which is awesome. I love that. I'm a nerd about all of that type of stuff. So thanks for watching, and shout out to your daughter.
Oh, no doubt, sis. Thank you. The that program, what'd you say it was called? I know about the Universal Hip Hop Museum, but what's the name of the specific program that the girls were doing?
Yes, for women and girls, Fresh, Bold, and So Deaf.
So how long has it been going on?
That's a great question. I don't know how long it's been going on, but I know that now is like where they're really getting it off the ground as its own initiative, because I guess it's been just a brainchild of the Hip Hop Education Center for so long. I'm holding crystals. Let me put these crystals down. And so Martha Diaz, who a lot of people in the hip hop community know as like just the OG builder, she's at the helm of that. And just the army of women in this thing, man, like I was so humbled to be in that circle. I think I was the youngest one there too. It just goes to show you like how many generations. I mean, hip hop is so young, it's not even 50 years old, but like how deep this culture is and how much work people are doing behind the scenes that you would never know. But it's as its own initiative, is very young, very green, very in the beginning. And
how's it seem to have affected the girls who've taken the classes or gone to the seminars, or however the phrasing is?
People are really excited, especially because the planning around not just like stuff that will help you with your career or just things that you're curious about, like maybe you've been in dance for all your life, but you've always been intrigued about visual art, and now you have like women who really do graphic artistry to actually soak in knowledge from. Like, that's super exciting. But also on the flip side, it's like they're creating, or I should say we were creating programs and curriculums and like ways to help people like to be safe in the culture. And like, you know, it's a big world. It gets hard out there, even in the professional world of just like trying to go up in the ranks and get your resume together and be, you know, working with this company and that company and this brand and that brand. And a lot of things happen that aren't always so positive, or, you know, make a nice connected gradual uplift of a person. And so they were also looking into, you know, how to help people prevent negative situations from happening while they're out there building their careers, how to network, how to, you know, like really a lot of building tools as well, which I think is so necessary, but also to specifically aim it for women and girls is like so important, because a lot of people, and this happens with guys too, but a lot of people, you know, are going out in the world just passion, and me and my partner used to call it ambition hustlers. You know, it's like people see that light, people see that spark that you have, and unfortunately some people like look to take advantage or manipulate or assault that in some way. And so, you know, it's really on us to make sure that we're, you know, I don't want to use the word policing, but that we're making our community a real community and making sure that people aren't getting hurt while they're out here following their dreams, and, you know, making sure they have food on the table and that they can take care of their families.
It's definitely admirable. Man, there's so many directions we can go from here, but we might as well get it out of the way. I know in some ways it's condescending, because why should somebody be a female rapper? If they're a rapper, they're a rapper. But you know, people love making lists. So I'm curious as to what you think of my top 5 female rapper lists.
Okay.
And then I'd like to hear yours, and you're not allowed to include yourself. I also didn't include you for purposes of this exercise.
No problem.
And these are ranked in order. I got Lauryn Hill number 1, MC Lyte number 2, Missy number 3, Mia X number 4, Storm from the Outlaws number 5, and my honorable mention is Chica for current artists.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Shout out Mia X. Isn't she a professor of hip hop now, doing big things?
And she got like her own seasoning line and a cooking show and all that.
Man, look, that's what it's about. I love it. All right. I respect that list. I respect that list. I love that Chica's thrown in there too. Like, yeah, she's a powerhouse.
I love that you know Chica. I try to say her name as much as possible on my show, and you're the first person who's heard of her.
Get out of here. Oh, well, that's not.
Well, I mean, it's mostly like young gangster rappers. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I could see that, but nah, she's gonna continue to be a marquee name. It's just gonna keep growing. I definitely see that for her. All right. I don't have an order. You would think I would think about these things coming to an interview, but nah, Lauryn Hill that's a pillar that has to be there. She just checks every box as far as an MC and a hip hop artist. Every box is checked.
You know, not to interrupt you though, but about checking every box, I feel that her and Tupac singularly are the only 2 rappers I've heard that can make you feel the full spectrum of emotion.
Check every box, yes. And that spectrum of emotion, so true, so well said. That spectrum of emotion, which is a real thing.
Because there's places like DMX couldn't get to that Tupac did, or places Biggie couldn't get to that Tupac did, or Jay-Z or whatever. Now they might be able to have, you know, more lyrically proficient songs than him. I mean, he proved on the Ron G freestyle, nothing else with Big L, that he can be as lyrical as you want him to be.
Facts. Yeah, when you start to parallel like a DMX and Pac, it's not as noticeable. But yeah, when you start looking at more of those boxes, yeah, that's so true. But the spectrum of emotion is a very interesting thing as well, because, or I'll say, it's very interesting now, especially to highlight that, because we've gotten into a place of like monolithic emotion, you know, and it's like a bunch of the spectrum was chopped off. Like if it's like the rainbow, it got chopped and it's just red and blue now, you know. So when people start playing,
I mean, Tupac can make you cry, have you ready to march,
Facts.
have you ready to commit a robbery, you know, like there wasn't nothing he couldn't touch on.
Right. And he was like that from the beginning. Even the first album with it's like super like militant like thing about it, it still had stories, it still had hardcore isms on it, it still had melodies and people vocalizing on it.
What wasn't he in a jail cell in the first video? Got Me Trapped, if I remember correctly.
You know what? He might have been. I remember the song, of course, because I was standing that album for a minute. But I don't remember the video, but I remember a cell, and he probably also, I know he wanted to, not he wanted to, but I know like noting that he was a Faney who's been on my spirit, rest in peace, rest in love, rise in power, that, you know, he was, I think she was a month pregnant while she was incarcerated. Yeah. So I think I remember him telling some story about like, yeah, wanting to, you know, not glorify.
On my wall behind me, I got, she wrote a petition. She acted as her own lawyer and petitioned the court to get extra protein in her diet because she's pregnant. I got a copy of it on the wall up there.
Oh my God, you do? Yo, I spoke at her homegoing service. Like that's my auntie for real. Like she saw me, like she heard me spit. The program I grew up in, my like mentor godfather was in the Panther 21 with him. With her. So, and that was my life for like half my life, performing and studying and training with this group. And she, this program also went down to Atlanta. I wasn't one of the people that got to go, but went down in Atlanta when she had she had an organization called Amaru Kids, named after Pac. And so we, the program went down there.
Stonehead Mountain, right?
Huh?
Stonehead Mountain, right?
Yeah. And then she had, in North Carolina, she has some land too. I can't remember where, but yeah, when she came up to New York though, she got to see us perform. She got to hear me spit. I got to meet her. I hugged her twice. Like I'll never forget that. And then yeah, when she made transition, when they had the service for her in Brooklyn, I was just coming to come, but right. My godfather was hosting the whole program, and he was like, yo, I want you to say something in the service. And I had to I actually recited the speech that she gave at the Panther 21 trial when she got everybody acquitted of like all the charges, which was crazy and emotional.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
It's my heart. That is my heart.
I got that letter. I don't know if you remember, Eminem started it, then 50 Cent, then Tupac. I don't think anyone else had them, but they had like these coffee table books, and they came with like all these inserts.
Yes.
You know, yes. So like I'll send you the link. I bet you can get the Tupac one on Amazon for like $5.
Yo, it's crazy. That is that package. My godfather made that package. That's his shit, Jamal Joseph.
Okay, well, shoot, shout out Jamal Joseph. I got like 4 of his packages.
Yes.
I got 4 of the artwork from his presentation on my walls.
Yes, I love your wall, by the way. I wish I could just take some time and like really, you know, be in the room and like, but I respect it. Oh, and I see the lotus, the flower of life. Yes. Okay.
Oh yeah, I did a lot of time, and I like to read, so I'm pretty self-didactic, and you know, I study spirituality, things of that nature.
Yes, come through with vocabulary. We are in sync because I was holding a book and holding crystals before we got on, so now
I was gonna ask you about books, but you know, I'm so rude. I never let you finish your MC list. All we got to was Lauryn Hill.
Right, Lauryn Hill, because the check boxes thing, right? Lauren's got to be there. Missy's got to be there. Wait, we said this is hip hop. This is women hip hop artists in total, or are we just talking about MCing?
Difference being like what, like a Mary J. Blige?
Wow, that just fucked my head up.
Let's just say rapping.
Okay,
like just purely skills as a rapper. I mean, I know Missy's a great songwriter, but she can rap like shit too if you listen to the verses.
Oh hell yeah!
A lot of people don't catch that though.
Yeah, it's you know, when people dance and when people infuse humor, which is another debate though, because Ludacris, by that same argument, Ludacris, who said that he made a point to not use his life and like emotional stories as part of his thing, but like people take him seriously as a lyricist, as a writer, you know. But Missy doesn't. I think we do that a lot with dance, but also when you use a lot of humor, it gets into this area where people don't seem to take you as seriously, which is, I don't agree with that. But
plus, I mean, society's traditionally been dismissive of larger women in general, you know, their abilities, whatever. Well. So, you know, she's had to confront that. Like, I mean, let's never forget that the best singer of the 90s, Kelly Price, had to wait like a decade to get a deal just based on her appearance, and she was singing way better than some of them girls that was on MTV and VH1 and BET at the time.
To this day, and I'm a huge Kelly Price fan to this day.
I mean, if anybody who likes good sound should be a huge Kelly Price fan, you know what I mean?
Hell yeah. Bahamadia got to go on there. Jean Grey got to go on there.
Well, see, that'd be interesting. Like, I admire Jean Grey, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if I included her in my favorite MC list, wouldn't there be an element of self-hate to that?
What you mean?
Oh, Jean Grey most certainly doesn't like white people, and makes it clear unless her stances change significantly.
That's a chink in the armor that we must revisit at another time. But all right. Well, in the just MCing, that comes up for me. Just looking at if we were just looking at lyrics on paper and hearing a summation of a catalog, that will come up just for that.
Well, see, I struggle with that. Like, I got mad Ice Cube shirts though, so that's kind of hypocritical. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
so like I ain't gonna lie. I mean, we all hypocrites, but that's kind of picking and choosing. I mean, you know, I had a white mother. You know, I'm sure she wouldn't have liked Cave Bitch, the Ice Cube song about white women. You know what I mean?
No, we all have to face it. And I know one of my favorite quotes from Pac was about, you know, looking at a person's entire life and judging from that and not singular incidents. So I think, but I love the truth. I love the truth, and the truth loves me. So I'm never gonna want to sweep anything under the rug. And also, I'm a political science head. That was my major when I went to school. So critical thinking is a huge part of my life. On top
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you're so fascinating. What was your thesis on, out of curiosity?
Oh man, I had so many because I was in so many classes, and then I double minored in dance and arts and entertainment management.
Well, just what's a political science subject that grabbed your attention? I'm fascinated with many aspects of political science. Mm-hmm. You know, like conspiracy theories, I feel was almost turned into a term to discredit people that were onto the truth, like COINTELPRO. You know, lumping them in with like flat earthers and stuff was a propaganda tool to disvalidate what they were saying.
Right. And then as also with the double-handed of being spiritual people or spiritual beings and studying spiritual topics, then you also know about esoteric things and how people hide things in plain sight. So a lot of things, something's called a conspiracy theory, you know, when, you know, the finger that's doing the pointing is actually trying to distract from what's behind the finger or what's in front of the finger. You know what I mean? But anyway, because we gonna be on mad tangents, like you said, I already see it. But topics in political science. Okay. I took so many classes. I took a political economy and globalization class that was super interesting. And in that class, my exit project, I used the youth program with that was raised by Black Panthers and Black arts movement activists. I used that to explore the nonprofit industry and whether people who are in the grassroots basically don't go the 501c3 route, which for everybody watching, when you sign up as an official nonprofit organization to get the tax exemption, you file what's called a 501c3, and that makes you like an official nonprofit organization able to reap the benefits financially of that label. But a lot of grassroots organizations are not going that route, even though they're at the root nonprofits, because the nonprofit industry and that setup itself is like another version of a corporate like structure, and
Yeah.
it limits them. And but by this token, then the common good and people doing work for the common good and the billions of dollars that flow through for this so-called common good are subject to different hierarchies, different politics, different economic politics. And so that was my study, is like, if everybody's doing this for the common good, like why are there these limits? Why are these structures? If it's billions of dollars and the nonprofits are doing more work than the government to fill in all the gaps, why are some people, choosing not to do certain paperwork, and because they see it's a harm? And
So you
that was
took
my
like a
study.
holistic look at it almost,
Oh my
like a
God,
like an
that shit was like
overview.
70 pages. Yeah, it was crazy. I did so much on that project. But mostly because also like that program was my life, and it changed my life. It saved my life. And I just didn't understand why it, not to take away from it, but it's real, like why we were struggling as an organization. Like, and that program, true to form, was feeding us every week, was giving us free lunch. I was in there from 12 years old into my 20s. So I also became like helping the younger kids that was coming in.
You evolved with it.
Yeah, I evolved with it, and I just didn't understand why something that was so good and so powerful, and we did 50 shows a year. We performed from the church basements and schools and centers to PepsiCo. We did, I spoke at PepsiCo, Lincoln Center. We did United Nations, nominated for an Oscar, Grammy, but we were still in the hood, still struggling. And I don't understand why. And that was what I wanted to investigate. And also why the people at the helm decided that they would rather struggle and do what they wanted to do with the program than get in the 501c3 lane and pursue it that way. And that was what I wanted to dig
What was
into.
your ultimate conclusion in the TLDR version?
That precisely the latter of what I just said, that if they did go the 501c3 route, where you end up having to basically report on everything you're doing, you cannot make political stances as a 501c3, even though it's a picky situation, because there are a lot of major companies that on the books, on paper, are filed as 501c3s, and they make political choices all the time, but that's another story. But being that these people came from that legacy, and they were there on the ground doing things in the Black Power and the Black Arts movement, it just wasn't a fit for them to basically put the fate of their organization in the hands of another government structure, basically, to do common good. Why wait? Why file for grants? Why have applications when you could just be in touch with the people in the streets, in the community, doing the work, and building the way you want to build, and funding the way you want to fund? And I respect that. I see the pros and cons, but I respect it, and it was something I had to understand.
Got you. Who are your two favorite historical figures, male and female? Mine would be Nat Turner and Elaine Brown.
Historical figures.
I think any man, if he really thought about it, would hope that he had as much heart as Nat Turner did.
Any man would hope to have half the heart Harriet Tubman had. So I totally agree with you on that front. I just watched a super dope documentary on Ida B. Wells the other day. She was on my spirit coming into this month. For those who know and don't know, is for some of us called Black August and Black August Resistance Month. And one of my goals was to learn more about her. And I already thought she did a lot, but she did a lot. And I identify so much with her example. And she had a lot of heart, a lot of intelligence, a lot of strength, a lot of strategy, a lot of savviness, a lot of hustle. I respect it. Georgia, Chicago, Memphis, like a Hall of Famer. So Ida B. Wells. I'm rocking a Nina Simone shirt. I would feel kind of bad if I didn't talk about Nina today.
Man, I was just listening to Blackbird, like right before the show.
Yeah, Nina Simone, Shordell Jackson. Oh, it's so many, man. But I'm gonna say those two for today.
Okay.
Idol, Nina.
And then we're gonna get into your music, but first I saw you held up a book, and I could tell just from listening to you that you be reading a lot. And you
I'm trying. I fell off. To be honest,
I did too because of podcasts. Like now I be listening to podcasts. Took away a lot of my reading time. But just out of curiosity, like what are some like must read books? Like with me, I was like the only white kid in a black neighborhood in the DC area during crack.
Woo!
And I'm not trying to compare black people to savages in the slightest, but I could really relate to Dances with Wolves, like how he left his his quote unquote culture and embraced something different, fell in love and all that type of stuff, which happened to me. Just wasn't with a white girl, even though I did marry a white woman. So it used to be that. Then I read this, I did time and everything, but I wanted to be a journalist. And I read this book, Nathan McCall Makes Me Want to Holler, about this cat.
Yes, I've heard about it. I have not yet read that. Yeah.
Oh, it's an awesome book. He went to prison for he was selling drugs in Tidewater, shot somebody at beef with, homeboy ain't die. He did like 8 years, got a degree from Howard in journalism while he was there, got out, got hired by the Washington Post. So yeah, that's a really good book. But what are some you would recommend?
Hip Hop Decoded.
I got that.
Yeah, Hip Hop Decoded by the Black Dot. Blood in My Eyes, George L. Jackson.
I'm not hip to that one.
Oh yeah, that's
So when I send you the link, then you gonna send me the link.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure we'll have a bunch of things to share with each other now. The blanks that are being drawn. Well, my godfather that did the Tupac legacy packaging, he wrote a book on his life similar to Makes Me Want to Holler. His was called Panther Baby, the story of rebellion. This Panther Baby is the big title. If you just type that in, it'll pop right up.
I read it and love to have him on the show. I love Panther stuff. I mean, again with the pictures, I got Fred Hampton up here for years, way before there was Judas and the Black Messiah. Yeah, like I said, I read a Lane Brown book when I was like 16 and fell in love. And not like like in romantic love, just like the things she did and what she was dealing with.
Yeah, that's how I felt about Kathleen Cleaver, who is, for y'all who don't know, again, side by side in the Panther Party, like holding the party down, when a lot of the men were being locked up, killed, left for dead. It was the women that held
getting tricked into having drug habits.
Yeah, a lot of psychological attacks, psychic attacks, a lot of manipulation. Yeah, it was bad. But props to the people who ushered in and even made evolutions while all that like negative was going on. And that's a huge part of my life. Transformation, transmutation.
I mean, growing up, like a lot of my partners in DC, they parents or their aunts or their uncles have been Panthers. And like, they would sit around and tell us a story. Or like even my friends who had like more proper families, they was in the church, they talk about going on the March on Washington. That's why like even singing along, I've never used the N-word. Or like I've been in so many situations where I was the only white person. And like cats would ask me to use the N-word, like you one of us. And just nah, because like I remember them stories of like, I remember my man grandmother, she was like 87, talking about getting sprayed with one of them hoses, and how her husband used to beat on her for 40 years. And that one hose hurt worse than all 40 years of beatings.
Jesus.
And like I can't take stuff like that out of my mind to ever, call myself appropriating, like I'm trying to uplift,
Yes.
not come like so like I ain't trying to score no social credit points with you, but like you seem like the kind of person I can talk about this with, man. Frequently I talking about them young gangster rappers, they'll say like fuck this person that's a rapper in their city, and I won't even release it. But like, you know, I could clip that and get like mad views and be way accelerated.
Right.
You know what I mean? But like I ain't here for that. Like I think a lot of these people that insert themselves into the hip hop media, especially in the gangster culture, don't understand the ramifications of the things they do or the things they report on.
Oh yeah, and some do, and that's another.
Oh yeah, well those okay. Here's a question. Those are devils, and I noticed in one of your songs you made a comment about devils, and I don't know if you were specifically talking about white people. I know you weren't talking about all white people, but how do you recognize when someone's a devil?
What's crazy is that I don't even know what song you're talking about. But if I said devils, I was talking about the negative spirit energy that can be anyone or anything. That I absolutely, some would say demon energy. Some would say, I think it's a different degree, but
Bad karma or whatever. It's semantics.
But there's, yeah, and this is, yeah, we could go political on that, or social development on that. We could go spiritual on that. So I don't want to guide the conversation where it's not,
well, just whatever your honest answer is, you know.
That was my answer though. Like I believe in a higher power, whether you want to call it God, whether it's he, she, it, they, to you or anyone.
I can dig it, me too.
And in what I understand about God and light and universal laws and energy, which is everything, devil energy is, if not a polar, is the opposite pole of God energy, or it's the conflict in you about your light, about your source God, about your God energy.
Like a wall, like it keeps the God energy from shining into you.
Yeah, or it lets it in and feeds on it. Maybe it's a parasitic energy, you know, maybe it's an illusionary energy where life as you know it is actually, what you think is real is actually not. You're just participating in your own illusion, or you're willingly part of an illusion because it's comfortable to you. Or I was just reading the other night about cycles and breaking patterns, and this thing about we are familiar with the pain we know, so we'd rather go back to subconsciously, we'd rather keep going back to the pain we know than to experience pain that we don't know, or the unknown. And that's where that fear comes from, and not breaking past certain things. But absolutely,
that's deep.
Devil energy is as real as God energy. But the thing is, how the universe works is like, manifestation is predicated on your attention. So a lot of times people spend so much time fighting something when they should be working on building something, creating something, uplifting something, focusing on feeding the good of something, because whatever you put your attention on is what's going to multiply and manifest. So at the same time, with everything we've talked about today, is like there's a lot of things and people and places and verbs inside the revolutionary community that I don't vibe with no more, because I recognize that some things are not about revolving and going around in a circle and returning to something. Some things need to be about evolution now, especially because we're the generation coming after a lot of powerful generations, and we're still talking about the same things. You know what I'm saying? So something talking about a pattern again, something has to be broken and changed, and we have to go about doing other things. We have to speak new words, we have to tell new stories, we have to change how we're presenting ourselves, and especially for the young people that's watching us, because they're soaking up everything. I understand and respect somebody, well, maybe I don't respect, I don't know, but if somebody wants to be on the I'm not a role model thing, like, I get where you're coming from. I understand anything. I'm that type of person. Like, I've been in a lot of places in my life. I've been in the dirt, I've been in the mud, and I've been on world stages. And I've seen devil energy and light energy in all those places, so I can understand anything. But what we do know is that whatever you say to yourself, you're listening. Whatever we're doing out in the world, the young people are watching and they're taking it as an example. And you can't be talking about one in the world to be like this or one in your life to be like this, but decades from now our kids and grandkids are going to be doing the same thing, going through the same struggles. Like, nah, that's not what this is about. That's not what all those people did, all those dope things, and suffered all those injustices and pains in all colors. Because everybody in human history, the worst treatment that they've ever had in human history came from their own, or other than the whoever the powers, the colonizing powers would be. So yeah, let's put our energy and our attention and our words in good places, constructive places. And like DJ Cliff says, like, you ain't got to be positive, you ain't got to be negative, you just be dope. Just be dope. Let's do dope shit. That's it.
Or I could dig it. You know, two points on that. Like I feel like devil energy, you know, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled is making all these poor people in America, regardless of race, socioeconomic status, whatever, consider each other the enemy. While like these elites is getting, you know, they closing down the mom and pop stores during the pandemic, you know, less green zones in urban environments, you know, all that type of shit. And that's what I think the real devil energy is that America got all the poor people thinking that they enemies along some type of tribal lines, when in reality the enemy is like the media, the company owners, you know. If some poor kid in Appalachia, you know, whether it's it's definitely ignorance, it's willful ignorance, or not complaining about some immigrants, that's just in the way. That's like trick knowledge, you know, like what he should be worried about is the infrastructure in his own town. You know.
Yeah. I mean, if everybody was as concerned with themselves, like their health and centering and cleanliness on the inside, and their homes, the people around them, their immediate community, their immediate space, if everybody was, you know, as caring and attentive to that as they were whatever the news is trying to push this week, next week, I think we'd be in a great place. And I think it's happening as more people are getting into, you know, land cultivation. And I've witnessed and seen more spiritual and psychological and communal conversations in the past couple years than I did years ago. So maybe not as fast as I would like, but it's happening, you know. And
never underestimate the power of hip hop to bring people together.
Hip hop is one of the most potent energies that the universe has ever seen. You hear me?
Yeah. I mean, you went from Japan literally looking at Americans as savages, like that was their word for us if you translated it, to being obsessed with b-boy culture.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. You know, and what's crazy about that is the same way you could trace what happened to the people who ended up creating hip hop, like in that same loop with Japan, is like what Japan was going through in the decades prior to hip hop being created, and who was calling Japanese people savages, you know, and the things that, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, also, if I could say one other thing is, you know, take people and things for what they are. Take everything case by case basis, because circling back to that devil energy, you know, light, it only takes one match in a dark room, you know what I'm saying?
Word.
But
Well said.
every skin ain't kin. Just because a person is this doesn't mean they're that. Just because something has a hip hop label on it doesn't mean this. Just because somebody is prime time, major label, prosperous, so that doesn't mean that this. Just because, you know what I'm saying? Take everything case by case, you know, question everything, do your own research. You know, if something is telling your gut something, or your heart something, or your brain something, go with that. In spirit, inspiration, that's where that word comes from. Spirit is inside. Follow those sparks, you know, because everything right now is moving people towards, don't think for yourself, you know, don't go nowhere, don't do anything, just eat what we're feeding you, or starve so that you can keep depending on us, and feed mentally and psychologically off of what we're giving you and what we're saying reality is, when reality can be altered at will at any time by anyone. That is your right and privilege as a spirit being born on this earth. You can create your life as you want to, and hip hop is a perfect example of that. Yeah, we've gotten sidetracked in a lot of ways, but still, in
I
less
don't
than
think so. I think it's
50
been a
years,
great conversation.
no, I mean hip hop as a culture.
Oh, okay,
In
yeah.
less than 50 years, though, what hip hop has done to this entire planet in less than 50 years, nothing in the history, centuries, thousands, millions of years, nothing has done that on this earth. You know, my homie used to say, you know, when you know, Malcolm got killed, Martin got killed, and they were looking, you know, a lot of George L. Jackson was murdered in prison, all these, they were looking, who's the next, we got to stomp him out now, we got to stomp him out. And my homie was saying, they thought it was going to be a person to come back around again, but it wasn't. It was hip hop, you know. And I love thinking about it like that, because
No, that's
and it
beautiful.
also explains a lot how valuable it is, and why so many hands went to get in the pot, in the pockets, and in you know, in the fabric of the culture, because they knew what it was, you know. But we still have that. We can reclaim it at any time, you know.
Definitely. I mean, outside of like the quote unquote labels, which are losing more and more power, I feel it's being reclaimed on the underground, you know, frequently. I mean, you can go and
Yeah.
listen to any kind of rap music you want to on Spotify, SoundCloud, whatever, you know.
Right.
It might be a little harder to find it, but you know, you
Right.
can get a pretty good chance of who the good tastemakers are for the music you like. It don't take that much research.
Yeah.
I like to use this to transition into talking about some of your music, because I listened to a lot of your songs today, and like I
Oh,
said, I was quite impressed with your wordplay.
thank you.
You do pick a lot of songs to cover, but I noticed that you have some original songs too. And this is just off your YouTube. Like I didn't get a chance to, like, I don't know, are you're on Spotify and all that stuff?
I am.
Okay, so I just got to deep dive your videos. I didn't get a chance to go down your you know, whatever you guys streaming. So on the original songs, prison song, that was all the way original, right?
That prison song, lyric, technically I still consider it a cover, because I wrote what I spit over like actual prison, like a recording of prisoners in a field actually singing and making beats with their hammers in the field. So I still kind of consider it a cover.
I'm curious, what did you mean by woke, not awake? Because before you answer, I used to consider myself woke back when, like, I was the only one telling my white family about people getting killed in my black
Right.
school, and they thought I was lying. Or like when I was talking about over policing, or I knew what redlining was and was trying to explain it to
Right.
people. But now woke is like who you can get in trouble. To me, it seems like it don't seem like it's going in no positive direction. So that's just my take on woke. Like I used to be, like, I remember when I first joined Twitter, Killer Mike called me woke like 15 years ago, and I was like honored by that. Now
Yeah.
like I don't even know if he consider himself woke, but
Yeah, but I don't think people. There's a bunch of people who might not even consider him woke no more. To me, that, yeah. So the lyric, fam been apart, but the woke ain't wake. I remember that. So yeah, just like a lot of things, like Black Lives Matter as a phrase, but then Black Lives, or like an understanding, and then, or given, and then Black Lives Matter as an organization, as a political agenda, as something that is nothing really to do with the uplift and connection and evolution of our community and the surrounding communities as a whole. It's that kind of thinking of like, woke at first was like, we're actually having a collective conscious, a rising of collective consciousness, and we're starting to talk about some more things, and we're starting to explore and research some more things, and we're starting to take care of ourselves and each other a little bit more, and we're starting to recognize the practices and the things that we weren't aware of before, and we're getting to a more enlightened state about certain things. So woke was like that, and it was like, okay, yeah. And I remember, because I was down too, as a righteous, spiritual, political science, like, yeah, that's up my alley. But then, just like Black Lives Matter, and just like a bunch of other things that happens to a lot of things created by the community, which is not a coincidence, I don't think. It's the same thing with hip hop. Things get co-opted, people see a value in things, whether it be for just to be crude, like marketing purposes, or the value of being able to get inside. And I don't mean to freak anybody out, but what I'm saying is, when you listen to a song, a popular song, when you listen to somebody speak and you feel something they're saying, when you read an ad or see a poster or read a paper or see some information that pertains to your life, and you're thinking about it or resonating with it in any kind of way on that emotional spectrum, that thought is inside you. So these phrases, these concepts, these taglines, these hashtags, these movements, and the phrases that people use in them become a part of us, and woke became inside us in a co-opted way. And that's when I stopped using it, because if you are sick or recognize some disease, you don't think about it. Don't call yourself sick. Don't call yourself a poor person and say, I'm on a poor person's campaign. You're not. You're a rich person. You're a whole, healthy person, deserving of getting exactly what you deserve, and deserving of exactly what you get. And so I got frustrated, because everything that meant good all of a sudden was compromised. And I noticed that woke was being now used as a marketing tool, as a covering agenda, as a branding thing, as a way to say that you align with, the look and the dress and the vernacular and the images and the symbols.
Yeah, like Amazon with the Black Voices Matter, but then look at how they treat people of color in their warehouses.
Yeah, and even people of color in the community sporting these same things, but treating each other not right. And women going through things with men going through things with women, young people just left stranded, elders getting sick, not being able to pay their bills, elders in hip hop not being able to take care of themselves. When we have a billion-dollar industry and the architects of our culture can't afford to go to the doctor, like, something's wrong. This is not woke. This is not uplift. This is not community. And that's what that line is about. The woke ain't wake. Actually, the woke are, now I'm recognizing, are just as asleep as everybody else. They're on an illusion. They think they're enlightened, but they're really not. They've been co-opted too.
Yeah, I totally agree. Hugo Pennell, am I saying it right?
Yeah, Hugo Pennell, yeah.
What was your motivation for that song, and what's your experience with incarceration?
I'm gonna answer that in reverse. I'm be quick about it. My experience with incarceration, I've been in jail, I've been in holding, but I've never been inside of a prison facility on my own accord. I've been in a psychiatric ward against my will, which was to me a prison, and the people I was there with.
Oh, it's worse. It was a prison. Yeah.
The people I was there told me, like, yeah, this is run like a prison, and that's how I felt. So I have that from my personal experience. But when I was 13 with that program, with the Godfather Jamal Joseph, I was one of the people that went up to perform at Green Haven Correctional Facility in upstate New York. That's a maximum security prison. Everybody in there at the time had at least one life sentence. Everybody in there, at least one and up.
I'm very familiar.
Mm-hmm.
My co-host, I'm gonna shout him out. St. Laz has a very popular prison stories web series, Gen Pop. Most of it takes place in upstate New York.
Wow. Okay, put that in your list of things to send me, please.
Got you.
So we performed in there, and that changed a lot of my whole perspective. And then I started writing letters and different things to people in different facilities from there. That went on for years. But then also was using my schooling and everything to research more into prisons, prison industrial complex, prison labor. I've done art on prison labor. And then let me see where, I think that kind of covers my connection with Mumia. Was doing a lot of stuff, Marshall Mumia. I've contacted Mumia. One of my aunties, she's on the whole like the board of people who are helping to get him out. Like she's one of the heads of that. So always had that connection. So that's my connection.
You're talking about Mumia Abu Jamal?
Yes, sir. Yes.
The innocent man who spent decades in prison.
Decades, man, and he's sick. Hopefully he's getting better now, but it wasn't looking too good, and I think it dipped back to negative. So keeping positive thoughts on that. And for him,
I will too. I read his book. Is man, that's something. Like speaking of books that will affect you, that's definitely one of them.
Yeah, I gotta remember who it was that blessed my life. They just gave me, was it her? Suzanne Ross is her name, by the way. Part of the Mumia Abu Jamal Coalition and a bunch of organizations. But they gave me a bunch of CDs of his radio program and him like he used to do these reports and from inside the prison. And I just had a whole bucket of that shit. And I used to stay up at night and I was like 15. I don't know how I was in my teens, staying up at night listening to this. And that shaped my life too. And
God, I bet you could close your eyes and be there right now.
Yeah, because
15 years old, listening to that.
Yeah, it's like and you could hear the space, especially for those who know what I'm talking about. If you've ever even I've visited prisons like in different states. If you've ever been inside, you know like what that air is like when people are speaking from inside their cells or inside the facility, how things sound reverberating back to you. So like the chills that come with hearing him speak, but you can tell that he's in the cell while he's doing that, just chills. On top of the truth and the facts that you get and that you process and like crazy. But so now to Hugo. So like I said, this month is called Black August. I've been doing it. This is probably my 6th year doing it. I kind of lost count after 5, but I'm gonna just say 6. And in the month you fast for 30 days. Some people don't do the fasting. Some people only do it on the 4 days where it's 24 hours. I do it the whole month, the 24-hour days, the sun up to sundown days. I was not a faster before this. I was not into that at all. What do you mean not eat? That was not my shit. So when I say like I did this and my life has been changed and I have a whole other perspective on it, but I also understand why and encourage people to take baby steps, like, yeah, I'm all there. But you study, you train, you're supposed to go no alcohol, no drugs, no TV, no boisterous activity, no popping off, like it's a whole thing. But and you can do it however you want to, but there's certain things that are the foundational principles. But on my first Black August, and I was in a relationship with a gentleman at the time who was incarcerated, and he was the one who put me onto this. So we were doing it together. And in that first one, this man called Hugo Pinnell was murdered inside prison in San Quentin. And he had been in solitary confinement for like something crazy, like 30 years. Like he was in prison for 40, but he was in solitary for 30, like something crazy like that. And not exaggerating, like 30 out of the 40. And then to be murdered, and then they said it was like a revenge murder or a race-baited murder, going back to his revolutionary activities. And it was a big deal in the revolutionary community at the time. But also once I got to learn a little bit more about him and how he became like whatever crime he was in there for or alleged crime, how that sentence just got extended and extended and extended because he got into these revolutionary ideas and learning about the history of not just I think he was born in Nicaragua, is it? I'm blanking. I believe it's Nicaragua, but he got into a lot of Black history and African history and European history. And I can't remember whose Twitter handle it is, but they had the dopest tweet of like, when you know Black history and white history, you're a dangerous person. And so you gotta study it all. And there's another thing in political science, comparative systems. You gotta study it all and how the similar things are happening in different places because it's all connected. But so it hurt my heart that this happened to him, and that any human being would be locked up for that long. But they had this interview that was on YouTube, I think it's still there, and they had him speaking, and I was just amazed at how he was just not a broken man at all. He was speaking so affirmatively, so constructively, not even bitter or like nothing like that. He was intelligent, he was sharp, he was real. You could tell he was from the street, but he had a mind on, he got a good head on his shoulders. He aligned with different people. He had brought races together. He white, Black, and Latino. He had brought people together, had truces. He was in the Black guerrilla, like mobbing with the Black guerrillas and George L. Jackson, but he was still his own man. Like he was in the midst of so much history, and then just to be lopped off like that.
Excuse me, for those who don't know, she's not referring to the hip hop collective. She's referring to a Panther-like organization.
Yeah, which is a very interesting. Ain't that funny? That's something I might want to write about at another time, because I always thought BGF, BMF, and the names people took on, and Stanley Tookie Williams, and I mean the history of gangs and street organizations interconnected with the revolutionary history and the Panthers and the.
Oh yeah, I mean the Crips were protecting the community from racist white police officers when it originated.
Oh yeah, I did a spoken word piece about that. Crips community revolutionary protection system. No, it's not
Society.
it. But there were two acronyms. And I worked them in that poem. But yeah, that history is really deep and interesting to look at.
It is. I mean, like you said earlier, that's just another co-opted organization. You get a bunch of people doing things for good. All you need is one greedy person to come in and change things, and all of a sudden it's a whole different organization.
Facts. It's like I'm sorry, trying to keep the N-word off your show, but just like in Spike Lee's Malcolm X movie, and the man said we had the finest. It's not funny, but it's you could only laugh because it's so bitter. It's we had the finest organization in the world, owned and run by Black men, and niggas ruined it. You know what I mean? It's true.
And I know what you mean. Like on Braveheart, the little English conquerors, like this shit ain't funny, but it's funny. They get to Scotland, they're looking around, and the one dude's like, "Man, Scotland's beautiful." And then the other dude's like, "The only problem is the bloody Scots."
Yeah, right.
Sometimes all you can do is laugh. I mean, people like I mean, I ain't trying to project my background on yours, but I can tell you've struggled somewhat, and I've struggled greatly. And sometimes the only way to get through that shit is to laugh.
Yeah.
So speaking of which, I suspect this question might got a funny answer. Can you give me an example of someone taking your Iverson out of context?
Practice. Ooh, talk about practice. Oh man. I was born in Uganda.
Right.
I was a baby. I was 2 years old when my mother and father came here separately. We weren't even together.
Yeah, I got an idea about the time frame. I ain't trying to put no age on you or nothing, but that was probably a very messy time in Uganda, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah, just getting out. I mean, because that conflict kept going on. But yeah, Uganda itself was a wild place as well. Yeah, it's true. It's crazy because I think about those two things separately, but you're the first person who's actually made me think of both of those messes happening at the same time regarding crack era, post-crack era, Harlem, and we could say DC, Maryland, Virginia, and Uganda, Idi Amin, internal crisis, rebel war, people displaced, just
Hey, look
blood.
up Muhammad Ali's Idi Amin story. It's hilarious. Right after they left the rumble in the jungle,
It's coming back to me, yeah.
they went to Uganda, and Idi Amin was trying to get Muhammad Ali to box with him, and he offered him like $500,000, and Muhammad Ali was like, hell nah, because if I win, I die, and if I
Yeah,
lose,
yeah.
and if I lose, this dude gonna be saying this shit forever.
For real, man. It's I wish he wasn't. I wish he didn't have that bloody side to him. For one, because most of the time when people find out I'm from Uganda, the first thing they say is Idi Amin, which is fucked up. But I get it. But the other side of that is like he did a lot of good too, which is like completely overshadowed and like just mess. But I mean, my family definitely was affected by those happenings. Both my grandfathers were killed before I was born, but one of them was killed directly because of like standing up against a lot of that shit that was going on. But yeah,
we got way out of the Iverson out of context.
Yeah, I done took myself out of context. Ain't that a bitch? Somebody taking my Iverson out of context. So I think I brought up Uganda because I think people run with the fact that I was born there, but the fact that I was raised here, and I'm the only one in my family that was raised here. I'm the American of the family, even though I was born on the continent. So my whole life has been this straddled, this bridge, you know, being between, which is a whole other thing, like American Black or Indigenous American Black, which also are two different things, or people would think it is, but they're two the same things. Indigenous American Black and African continent Black, and you know, we can throw in island, you know, Caribbean islands Black. And what those isms are about, and what those separations and divide and conquers.
Oh, I know about it. I had mad African girlfriends, and
Oh, word.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Yeah, Ghana, Sierra Leone, all that.
Yeah.
I learned a little bit of Twee when I was dating the Ghana chick. But yeah, nah, like the way they would talk about American Black people was surprising to me because I was unaware of that.
Yeah, and it's crazy because I would get spoken to like that from my own family, like my mother and my father. Like I'm stereotyped inside of my family for being the one raised here. At the same time, even with being largely disconnected from that, because I still haven't been back since I was born. That's gonna be a hell of a homecoming. But even with all those a lifetime of disconnect, just being born there, what that sets up in certain people's minds about me and who I am, and my understanding of the quote unquote Black experience, or the depth of my experience in that, or what I relate to, or what I identify with, and even the fetishizing and the exoticness of being African, like what that does and like where that's coming from. So my identity mix or whatever, or being born there but raised here, kind of messes people up sometimes. I would say messes them up because they're messing me up based on their predications on what they think Black is, or Black is supposed to be. And also
that shit ain't come with no manual, did it?
Hell no. Also, like in hip hop, I've heard like Napoleon, shout out to Napoleon the Legend, dope circle friend of mine, and a dope MC, one of the dopest that's out and has been out in the last few years. But you know, we become so limited in subject matter that like the immigrant experience, which is a huge part of our collective experience, and what has made hip hop so vibrant and dynamic, is like not even talked about. And so it's like it makes it even more of an alien concept. you know, that people are from different places but having similar experiences or having different perspectives on certain things because of where they're from or where they've come from, or, you know. But yeah, that, and I would say it's taking my Iverson out of context. This is cornrows, Dutch braids. I'm a, as you could tell, I have a heart, a active heart. I can be soft spoken. I have a naturally soft voice. You know, I don't have depending on who you are, I may not have a threatening aesthetic to me when you see me. So when I spit and when I perform, a lot of times it catches people off guard, and a lot of people don't expect the things that come out of my mouth, the bars that I put together, the poetry that comes from very dark and very light places. A lot of people don't expect that. And
oh yeah, you hella lyrical. You said mad joints. So I was like, okay.
Thank you. But people get it twisted that or because I've done a lot behind the scenes with camera work, with editing, with production, coordination of such, and nonprofit organization, and strategy and strategic planning. I started rhyming in the Cipher in 5th grade. I was spitting in 5th grade. I was carrying a notebook everywhere I went. I broke my hip hop cherry in the Cipher, which is something that a lot of people can't say. But it's like, if there was any place for a rapper, MC, whatever you want to call it, to start, like the Cipher, in my opinion, is the best, or one of the best places to start that shit. Nobody told me, hey, you know, you might be good at, oh, you know, no, I jumped in a motherfucking Cipher. You know what I'm saying? So where I come from with this is a whole other animal. Plus theater, plus spoken word, plus critical thinking, analytical writing. Where I'm coming from is a whole other place. So people get that out of context. And when we talking about practice, yeah, people get that out of context a lot. I hope I haven't misguided your question though.
No, not at all. And then before we get into what you got coming up, the last thing I had to ask was, I noticed you mentioned Californication in one of your raps. I'm curious if you're a Chili Peppers fan. Because like I ain't no Chili Peppers fan, but I had like the Greatest Hits album. And man, I used to listen to that Under the Bridge song over and over.
Respect. I need to get that, because yeah, I'd be about that level. I can't speak in depth about their catalog, but I love where their concepts be going, some of their visuals, like especially when we talk about esoteric and spiritual things. Just looking at their visuals, you could tell like, yeah, they on some other shit. You know, they might have pop lyrics, but no, they on some other shit. I fuck with them.
And finally, what do you got coming up, and shout out your social medias?
Bet. I'm so excited because I've only had like 2 songs up on my streaming for a minute now, but I'm so excited that my debut project, my EP, is gonna be coming out soon. It's called Chocolate Bars. It is a collaboration between me and one producer named Rockwell from Germany. So it's already an international affair. And I'm cheesing because it's a couple of surprises that that just came to fruition that I'm not telling right now, but I'm so excited that what's coming with this. It's only 6 songs. I'm not mincing on the bars with this, but I'm giving you creative, lyrical, imaginative, conceptual, melodic, bar heavy, boom bap on this. And I'm really excited about that, and to have to be building the catalog. And I have so much to get off my chest creatively, so there's going to be a number of projects after that, but I'm all about divine timing. So there's that, and I'm still creating every week, every day whenever I can. So yeah, that YouTube page is going to be keep building, and I have so many things I never even posted up there that people are like, what? So yeah. And my social medias, I'm on everything. I am at Amelia is Emily, EMILIA is Emmalee, Emily like Bruce Lee. Except one, Twitter, it's just Amelia is Emma. So that's how I'm found. And it's been a pleasure. It's been an intellectual stimulation going on this safari with you, Mark Waldo Ward.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. I'm definitely gonna check out the EP. Maybe we can do a episode where we break it down song by song and talk a little bit more about your history.
Oh man, that would be dope. I'm down for that. I'm so hyped. I can't wait for you to hear it too.
Me neither. Like I ain't front. I was really enjoying the wordplay today when I was listening to. That's why I didn't know the lyrics to some of the songs. I started doing the dishes and I couldn't go back and look to see what song it was on.
Thank you.
Oh, no doubt. Thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you so much. I can't wait to spread the good word about your show, and I really appreciate and gratitude for having me on today. Shout out to your wall, shout out to your daughter and your family, and shout out to you for choosing to do good in the culture and building from your heart. Respect.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. You have a good one. You take it light.
Peace.
Peace.